I just started working for Secretary Bob Gates. He's gone now, but I just started working for him. My first day with him, we flew to Kabul, got on a Marine C-130, flew down to Camp Leatherneck, and then got on a Marine V-22 and flew down to a very, very small forward operating base that happened to be the headquarters position of the 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. My son had served in 3-5 only a few months before. In September, the Marines in 2010 had just relieved the British, and by intercepts and intelligence, the Taliban immediately understood there was a new bunch of crazy men in town, as they put it. They complained to their commanders in Pakistan that they were being hunted relentlessly by these Marines, and they were losing and needed help. The Marines and the Taliban, from the day they met, decided they didn't like each other very much and fought for months like two wild animals locked in a cage. The Islamists fought and offered no quarter. The Marines fought better, and since, in their 236-year history, they'd never learned the definition of surrender. That wasn't on the table. 3-5 took it on the chin on some days. 3-5 took it on the chin on some days, but they kept their honor clean and fought and won. We traveled down to 3-5, Secretary Gates and I, to say thanks to that battalion that by then had lost more men killed and wounded than any other battalion in the war. By our arrival, however, they were masters of the valley. As I was to learn about Mr. Gates in subsequent visits, he always liked to address a large group, and about 100, 150 Marines were brought together, many of them from the outlying patrol bases and FOBs, every one of which in the Sangin River Valley was under siege at that time. These guys were in continuous contact, no amenities whatsoever, no internet connection, no telephones, no air conditioning, no showers, no laundry. From a distance, they smelled almost like barnyard animals. But you weren't sure until you get close to them, and then you realize it was them that actually smelled that bad. When you got close to them, you realized, however, that their shaves were close and their weapons were immaculate. These were tough men, mostly in their late teens and very early 20s, but all of them nearing old age for the time they'd spent in Sangin, Afghanistan. They only needed ammunition, something to eat, and comradeship, all of which they were rich in. In any event, the Secretary then asked, after he had talked to the larger group, as he always did, to sit down with 8 or 10 junior Marines in this case. And you'd always ask them what's on their minds. And of course, at that point, they're all looking in every direction but towards him. But he picked one out that made a mistake of taking a peek and making eye contact with the Secretary of Defense. He said, "What do you do here, Marine?" After a few awkward moments, he said, the Marine, "Sir, we fight the Taliban." Another offered, looking directly at me, and sometimes they get us, sir, but most of the time we get them. And another added, "But that's all right, sir, because that's what Marines do." A few more questions, and Mr. Gates asked, "Okay, you guys, you've got the Secretary of Defense here sitting with you. This is your chance. What can I do for you?" Silence. "Come on, fellas, what can I do for you?" the Secretary said. One answered, he was maybe 19. He said, "Sir, don't let them forget what we did here. Don't let them ever forget what we did here and the friends that will never get home."